Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
And inspire you to do even greater things. In the second part of this episode with Bharath Kumar, you will hear how Zoho as an organization does not do usual managing cookies and more focuses on being an inbound marketing, and how he had to change his perspective, creating and inculcating the values of the organization as well as the product, and creating those unique value prop. And he also shares some of the very cool learnings that he has, and how as a person he has inculcated and instilled the value of being the brand through his career. Listen on. Cool, very cool. In fact, and my next question was around software. You have had two stints. I mean, currently you are head of marketing for Zoho. How has that transition been? Being Airtel is a very, very marketing driven organization, while in software, I don't know if it's the true today, is marketing is subtle. Marketing comes with the thought papers. You actually go to conference and say these are really because by nature services are slightly different compared to the products world. So how has that transition happened, and what is happening in terms of your own learning and the path itself?
Yeah, so I will look at this question slightly differently, in the sense that I would club sales and marketing. So let's say an Airtel, like a place, is a very sales and marketing driven company, whereas a place like a Zoho is a very product driven company. In the sense that if I fine tune that a little more, I think telecom is more a commodity. You expect the network to provide you good signal, maybe good rates for the pack that you purchase. So then it is more about how you convince the customer, what is the value that you want to communicate, etc. So it is more sales and marketing driven. Whereas a product like a Zoho, and I had marketing for a few products of Zoho. So we call it a developer suite of products of Zoho, where my primary target audience is developers, IT managers, CIOs, that sort of community, right? There is no way. I think Zoho definitely would not want it to be like a selling something that we don't have. We believe in authentic marketing. So what it means is marketing will be subtle. It won't be as, let's say, in the scheme of importance, in the way we execute things. It won't be marketing first, unlike an Airtel, where it will be a marketing first, sales first sort of a decisions. But here it will be product first. Okay, what does my audience want? What is the problem I am solving? And am I building the solution for that is the first step. Then how do I communicate it follows. So in that sense, I understand. I also accept that marketing is more like a secondary player in the whole scheme of things, but it is no less important, because like Zoho, there are multiple other organizations, especially with the SaaS boom, there are so many players trying to address the market. Then communicating the values of Zoho, like let's say a CRM, there are multiple CRM products out there, and Zoho CRM is an amazing product. But at a certain point, when you do feature to feature comparison, there will be 5 other CRMs that are similar to Zoho, better than Zoho, same league as Zoho, etc. Right? Then that is where marketing will come in the sense to say that, hey, who are you working with? It is not just the product. We are this sort of individuals. This is our philosophy. We give back to the society, etc., etc. In an authentic way, in the sense that we are not doing it. That is the challenge for me as a marketer as well. When I want to talk about an initiative that Zoho is doing with a philanthropic or a good intent, it is not done for marketing purposes, but it is in a way indication of who we are. Let's say Sridhar says that we won't do layoffs. He is not saying that, hey, we will not do layoffs to attract customers or to build a brand for Zoho. He is telling employees like me that, hey, there is a COVID issue, but don't worry, we will not lay off. We will ensure you are protected. That is the culture of the organization. My role is to ensure that is communicated in the appropriate way to the audience, to the customers as well, saying you are purchasing a CRM, features you have compared, this is at that stage. by the way, you should also look at the values of the organization, the how we treat customers, how we treat employees, etc. And here are what we have done in the past. In that sense, product leads and marketing follows is how I look at it.
Wow, I really like the fact that, see, overt marketing is somewhat easier. You say, okay, but if you have to be subtle as well as to be subservient to the actual product itself, which makes sense. But what happens is when the other organizations are not following the same thing, what is a predicament that you give? It means that your marketing dollar has to work that much harder, that
Correct.
much you have to be
Exactly.
creating that much more efficiency in all of that. So how do you kind of contrast that part, Bharath?
Yeah, I think where a player like, I'm not just focusing on Zoho here, but because I'm exposed to that, I'm using that as an example again. Where a player like Zoho is able to afford to do this, saying that, hey, let's say there is an ABC CRM or an ABC software player that is spending 60% of their revenue in marketing. Typically, that is the numbers now. Like large players are spending somewhere around 50% on marketing, while Zoho spends much lesser because we spend a lot on our R&D. But when such a situation happens, let's say I'm a startup, let's say I'm not from Zoho, and survival is a challenge for me. I have to ensure I have to get enough customers, I have to push harder, etc. And if the other financial fundamentals are not working out properly, the major parameter that I see as a difference between a player like Zoho and others is the factor called time. Zoho is willing to play the long haul. Zoho understands that like they say, slowest is the fastest way to grow. So I am not rushing to become X million next year, X billion next year. I'll take my time. I will build an array of products. I'll build a bouquet of products, and someone comes in, will be happy and stay with me, and they will continue to give me revenue, and organically I will grow. So industry now uses this term. I'm sure you would have all heard of unicorns, which is the valuation unicorns. The opposite of that, the Zerodhas and Zohos are all camels, because we are in for the long haul. In a setup like this, marketing can play this sort of a role where it is more an educational marketing, an authentic marketing, saying, I am not spending the money just to get customers, even if they are not relevant to me. I am willing to play the long game. It will take some time for me to establish that brand. It will take some time for me to win, like what another, let's say, a marketing heavy organization is doing. But in the long run, we will surpass them. Is the objective behind this?
Actually, I mean, this is one of the things that is the hardest to do, because if you are a camel, it also means that your matrices have to be different, and you have to create those. I understand the right metrics and everything, right? But when somebody comes in new, it means that you have to relearn, unlearn, as well as create that. And in fact, now often we are speaking about, when we talk about sustainability, creating a better environment, everything, we call this something called patience capital rather than investment and money, right? Patience capital seems to become a more of a, I'm not saying that it's a buzzword, but that's something that is needed for organization to sustain that. I mean, doing right by my customers. And how did that, in terms of the change itself that you've done, has it changed you as a person? What kind of a skilling do you have to do through this journey?
Yeah. So let's take one marketing tool as an example, email. Generally, it is very, or like once you sign up, you will keep getting emails, and you will be as a marketer, I'll keep telling you that, hey, this is the right product, buy me, etc. Those things, it was tough for me to unlearn, because Zoho is very privacy focused or respecting the audience. Even email campaigns had to go through a lot of initial approval processing. Why do you really have to send this email? What is the purpose of this email? And any, let's say, outbound marketing as a effort, right? Zoho is very inbound marketing focused. So for me, it's not right or wrong, but I'm used to a very outbound focused approach also, where you figure someone out in a LinkedIn, get their contact detail, and reach out to them saying, hey, you are this and we offer this. I see a match. Do you want to talk? But Zoho doesn't want to do those things. Like unless a customer really has expressed interest, don't bombard them, don't trouble them, etc. Like I said, I don't see a right or wrong in this, but as an organization, we believe in this. Then it was initially a little different for me to understand these and then come make that as a part of my plans or perspectives. But one thing is, I think the responsibility forced me to adapt faster in the sense that Zoho is it empowers managers, it empowers individuals. So no two teams work the same. If I refer, like if you talk to someone else in Zoho, maybe they will give a very different point of view about their execution things, how they run marketing or how they run their product building approach, etc. But certain things are fundamental. Let's say how you treat people or not looking for credentials or this focus on privacy and things like that, right? So as a manager, like currently I'm managing a 20-25 plus people team. So if I don't soak that culture or observe that culture, I'm actually blocking the 25 people also from becoming a part of that Zoho culture. So in a way, I have to be responsible and understand that, hey, first you get to know what is right, wrong, as per Zoho's policies and philosophies, and then ensure your team follows it, because you have that responsibility to percolate that culture to your team as well, right? So that helped in me understanding, and obviously people are very approachable here, and at least what I tell my teams also is do mistakes, but don't do it twice. That's all. So in that sense, there is a freedom to try things, and if something doesn't go wrong or if there is a mistake, you correct it and don't repeat it. So in that sense, the learning happens faster.
You mentioned about having a team and guiding them, the philosophies of the organization, not only absorbing from a self perspective, but also creating that. So coming from in the software side of things, right? Normally you have the team sizes are much bigger, while marketing in the sense, if you're not a marketing driven organization, the team sizes are different, right? So across your career, has that really changed you as a person? I know the impact is more, right? Because moment you are helping Zoho set up in one organization, and that by the nature of B2B or a B2C, the number of impact is much higher. But how do you package that to yourself as well as for your team on the impact?
Yeah, so I call this sphere of influence. It's not my personal philosophy. It's not on the hierarchy or the number of people reporting, etc. And it's not just a Zoho thing. Even before Zoho, so while I was working at Ramco, I was an individual contributor, but the setup was such that let's assume that there is a central marketing team, a 25 people team, and I am a marketer, but I am not in the marketing team. So for ensuring that the marketing efforts are very business focused, I was reporting to the head of business. So there is a marketing head, under him there is a 25 people team, and I am an individual contributor in the business heads team. Let's say the head of business for ERP, who owns the P&L for that function, and there is no marketer in his team. So he handles 500 people, but I am the only marketer in his team, and I have to coordinate with this 25 people. Say for PR, I need to work with the PR person in this marketing team. For creative, I need to work with the creative person, etc., etc. So in a way, there are two ways to get things done, right? One is through hierarchy, and other is through a vision. So my role inadvertently became that guiding through a vision, saying, hey, this is my plan. This quarter, I need to roll these 2 campaigns. I need to do these 5 events, and I need your support. Can we do this? Can we do that? And there are communication tools and protocols and other things that follow. So again, in that sense, would I value that role or a role in which there are X people reporting, etc.? I would definitely value this role, because though there were 0 reportees, I think I learned more. I was able to influence more people. I was able to get things done also. But why I call that a sphere of influence is that you can be an individual contributor, but now there are so many tools out there inside an organization itself, where let's say you evaluate something, or you share learning, or you run a quiz tool for your, let's say you are one individual contributor doing something, but for your team of 40 people, for let's say your business unit, you run a quiz once a month that talks about some of the latest development in your vertical. Let's say you're a part of insurance division in your organization, and you run a simple quiz for folks to understand what are the latest developments in insurance sector this month and so on. it is not, you are getting respect not because you handle people or anything like that, but you are able to think bigger. You are slightly looking at the problem from a higher point of view and saying, okay, I am doing this role, but in addition, I will also do this to help the people in the system, right? So I think at Ramco itself, that change in thought came to me in the sense that the number of people thing changed. Here in Zoho, again, the number of people thing impacted me at one point, which was when I joined, it was like the role was a 15 people role and some 4-5 openings. So like when I joined, there were 10, 11 people in the team. And I was new, I joined, and then I did a presentation saying this is what we will do, and etc. etc. And then in 2 months, 4 people quit. So people were like, maybe they were scared of me or they were waiting for an opportunity. But that was like, okay, we did all the plans and presentations, and then there was a churn of like so many people leaving. So from a 10 people, it became a 5 people team, etc. So that was the only time I was like, oh, okay, so many people leaving and all that. And you will have your own self-doubt and all that, right? Am I doing the things the right way, etc. And then fortunately, I have a very supportive head of business. So he had that conversation saying, look at the larger picture and go continue your work, etc. etc. After that, the numbers have changed. Like I was handling one product, now I handle around 6 products. That one product grew from 10 people to 20 people. Then all the other products put together. Now I handle a team of 50 people. But I am not, that number doesn't matter. Honestly, I'm not saying this because of a conversation, but generally that number doesn't matter. Because in the 50, there are 20 people who don't need me at all. They just want a direction and then they continue with executing things. I am just there to support whenever required. There are those 10 people who I think I am influencing. I am giving them some direction. I am telling them, hey, this is the right way to send an email. This is the right way to do a follow-up to a senior person, etc., which shapes how they are going to grow. So as long as that is happening, I think the numbers do not matter. As a leader, what I tell the team is there are 3 major things that I do for the teams. One is setting a common vision direction, saying this is what we are going for, this is how we are going to run things. Second, some support. When they fail, they should not be afraid of what I will tell. First, they should be honest or comfortable saying, okay, this failure happened. Let us go and tell Bharath and figure out how to solve this problem. They should feel like, okay, this person will support me. That support is what I should give. Third, very simple, is consistency. If they know that this is what their team expects, or let's say, for lack of better word, this is what the leader expects from us. Something, let's say work from home, which is a very tricky thing, right? There is no right or wrong answer. For my team, I have decided we will have a hybrid model, 3 days in office, 2 days at home. And I have to be consistent about it. When suddenly one day let's say my team works Monday to Wednesday in office and Thursday, Friday at home. Suddenly on a Thursday, I set up a meeting and tell them to come to office. Or I ask someone, hey, why are you not in office today? They will get confused. They'll be okay with a manager who says, come to office all 5 days. They'll be okay with a leader who says, you don't have to come to office at all. But when someone is inconsistent, like you say this today and say something else tomorrow. You say when you come and when you go doesn't matter as long as work gets done. But then suddenly you ask, why are you late? That is where people get confused. So I'll be consistent. This is what is expected. This is the ground rules. So in those sense, I think those are the learnings that I have had. Because when that initial leaving of people happened, I thought, okay, how should I handle this now? And it was very easy for me to decide. I decided I will handle people the way I wish I were handled in that phase. So very simple, set those expectations, be consistent, give them a vision, and support them whenever they fail is how I am going about it.
Very, very nicely put, Bharat. I like this, 3-point thing. Because often, right, the organization is a long shadow of the leader. And while it looks very nice and dandy on the paper, but that's really what it is, right? In terms of, we call this code of conduct. We have this code of conduct as an organization, but code of conduct as a team, having that working agreement, having, what is expected out of you. It's very clear because even a 2-year-old child wants to be treated with all the respect, with all the clear clarification, and say, okay, this is what is expected out of you. So then as professionals, that's what sometimes we also have to hold ourselves back, saying even if how much of a stress is there on us, we have no job to just share it with the rest of the people, right? Very nicely put, Bharat. I know we are
Yeah,
off
I
time.
think
So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
respect, and also with time, what I've learned is people also want to be led in the right sense. People also want someone who they can look up to, learn from, and also give them the right direction. So sometimes it has to be done with respect. There's no two thoughts about it. But it is not. It is not very commonly accepted, or you don't come across people saying that, "Hey, I want to be led." But actually, that is also the case. People also are like, "Okay, I know I am a 2-year experienced person. These are the strengths that I bring in, but I also want to grow. For which I want someone to give me the direction. I want someone to lead me." So that makes it easier.
That itself, right? Many of these, I mean, I know the previous generation of so when it was all about what is the number of people, what is a what is our revenue that you're generating and all of that. Now, I think you use the term sphere of influence. How many are you influencing? What is it? What does it take that make that world a better place, or a person better than what they were? Right?
Correct.
Those are really things that help us to define ourselves also, right? So
That actually happened during one of the farewells at Ramco. So Ramco had 3 business units. So I was a part of logistics, asset management, and ERP, financials and core ERP business unit. There was an aviation business unit, and there is a HR payroll business unit. So the HR payroll business unit head moved out of Ramco after a few years. His name was Ranjan. So during his farewell is when I thought I was attending his farewell. So there is no link between him and me. He's a separately very different business head. Obviously leadership role, but when I was attending his farewell is what I realized a lot of things that he has influenced me, because he sets that expectation for his team. And I'm like, okay, I should also do this for my team, or in my business unit, or in the logistics function, etc. There is no hierarchy. He didn't have a conversation with me saying marketing should do this, we should execute this event, etc. But when HR unit does that, and I am a peer, my peer in HR unit does that, and I learn from it, and I tell my business head that, oh, we should also do this, etc. Right? That is one I thought it is the sphere of influence. He didn't do it because of hierarchy, etc. But his execution, his vision inspired many to follow him. So I think that is the stage that we are all in now.
yeah, and it's also without boundaries. Earlier, we used to say that, are you inspiring within this realm, or within this particular your team, or it's no longer, right? If how you're conducting in the social media, to your interactions
Correct.
in your conferences, all of that is being watched. And many times I've heard people be talking about having an admiration of it, which you have no idea, and you wouldn't even have thought of
Yeah.
it. So, but that
Yeah.
code of conduct, or this is what my values are, and this is what I think, that makes perfect sense.
Fortunately, people like Sridhar in the organization, at least internally, he is not putting rules, but he conducts an open house to employees every week. One, it actually signals that, okay, concerns are getting addressed, or he is sharing his vision, etc. But second, it is also a subtle signal to a small manager like me that, hey, if the CEO is so open and is willing to take questions every week, you cannot say I am not open to my team. That is a subtle signal to all the hundreds of managers there, saying, okay, this is the culture that I want to have in the organization. So that helps.
Wonderful, Bharath. So I think I am amazed at your journey, and I really hope our listeners are taking really notes on how they can conduct themselves. Any advice that you want to share as with our listeners from your own journey, your own path that you have taken, the ups and downs that you've gone through?
Yeah, I think if you are a youngster listening to this, let's say starting your career 1 year, 2 year, I know that you have a good following and a lot of software professionals listen to your sessions. And if there is an youngster, let's say 1-2 year experienced person who is starting, and someone at that stage, like I was also looking at money, and it's a very, very sensitive topic, but one simple suggestion or thought for you to think about from my side is, please look at money as a lagging indicator and not as a leading indicator. When the quality of your work is done well, the money will follow. So I know it's a very vague thing or a very weird thing, but at that point in my career, I also didn't have that clarity. So if you build your capabilities, are you the best developer in your friends network? Are you the best developer in your team? Are you the best developer in your organization? Are you the best developer that you know of? When the boundaries or when the definitions keep growing and growing, naturally the salary and other things, the money you make, everything also will continue to grow. So look at money as a lagging indicator. From a general, what I have learned also, is work will always have components that you want to do and components that the organization wants you to do. You may not like it, but you have to do. That percentage will vary based on your role, etc. But we have to do both is something that I also learned. Like even let's say my head of business, he handles multiple products, he handles 1,000+ people, etc. But there could be that one customer escalation or one irritated partner, something went wrong. He wants to have that conversation. It may not be very productive also, but he wants to, that partner may want, I want to talk only to the head of business. It is such a, I am upset so much that I don't want to talk to anyone else. I want to directly talk to him, etc. And I've seen him go on a call, patiently explain, tell him what happened, and then give that confidence. It may not be something that he really wants to do. I know he's sincere and he will do it, but his time is well spent on maybe something else more productive. But I've realized that irrespective of the role that you are in, there will be components that you have to do because the organization wants you to do it, and things that you really enjoy doing. But you should, as an employee, I think we should look at both equally and see that, okay, I should finish or commit to both of them.
Very well put, Bharath. I think that's something that the current generation also does that, because for us, in the previous generation, we were like, okay, this is what my role is. I better do it the best way I can. But I think now that I'm seeing a lot of younger generation saying that, okay, this person said this during one conversation, and because of that, I'm no longer happy about it. I think that sort of it comes as a package rather than thinking of it as an isolation. Very well put, Bharath.
Yeah, and a lot of it stems from comparison also. Again, that is, this could be gyan, I'm sorry about it, but those are things that I've learned in the journey. So there is this person, Naval Ravikant, that I follow. I'm sure many of us do.
Yeah, I also do that.
Yeah, so he puts that comparison point very nicely. He says, if I am comparing myself with Gayatri and say, oh, Gayatri is hosting this amazing podcast, I wish I do it. It shouldn't just be that one aspect of comparison. I should be willing to trade life with Gayatri. She's putting this effort to do this on a Sunday. She's doing it regularly every Sunday. She's planning her personal life in such a way that she allocates time for this every, let's say, whatever frequency that you do. I should look at all of it and compare. I can't say that I will sleep in the morning on Sunday, just that the podcast I need to host like Gayatri. I should be willing to trade everything in my life with Gayatri. You know, that was a very nice perspective for me, because we generally look at, oh, this person is earning more, or etc. etc. The easiest thing that meets the eye is what we compare with. But you should compare everything and be willing to trade life with the other person. Then you can compare.
Wow, I love it. Trading the person's life. And now, Naval actually talks it as a novelism. And I've also read his book. Yeah. And it is amazing in terms of, life's simple thing. So I think we should have one episode only talking about Naval.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. I think you mentioned about Sunday. I want to thank you for your time, on a Sunday. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, Bharath.
Yeah, I also had a good time with it. It was like me looking back at the journey that I've traveled. So I enjoyed this conversation, and you are a very kind host. There was no pressure, or there was no guidance saying do this, don't do this. You just allowed me to be. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you, and all the very best to scale more heights, Bharath. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People Stories.
If you like this episode,
please subscribe on your favorite podcast client
and spread the word in your network.
If you'd like to share your story,
contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.